After 6 months in space, SpaceX's Crew 2 astronauts returned to Earth late Monday, November 8, splashing down off the Florida coast to end the private company's second long-duration mission. NASA Commander Shane Kimbrough, pilot Megan McArthur, Japanese astronaut Akihiko Hoshide, and European Space Agency astronaut Thomas Pesquet descended back to Earth with a nighttime re-entry visible from Mexico and the U.S. Gulf Coast. SpaceX's Crew 2 mission control re-established contact with the Crew Dragon Endeavour spacecraft after a 7-minute communications blackout caused by the superheated plasma sheath around the capsule during entry. Moments later, 4 main parachutes opened to slow the spacecraft for a gentle splashdown in calm seas near Pensacola, Florida, at 10:33 p.m. EST Monday. A recovery ship positioned near the splashdown location moved into place near the Crew Dragon capsule. A lifting apparatus raised the Dragon from the sea and placed it on a cradle, where SpaceX opened the capsule's hatch and helped the astronauts out of the spacecraft. Endeavour, on behalf of SpaceX, welcome back to planet Earth, officials in Mission Control radioed to the crew after the capsule safely landed in the Gulf of Mexico. Numerous skywatchers reported sightings of the capsule's re-entry, which left a luminescent trail of plasma in its wake as temperatures outside the Dragon spacecraft reached several thousand degrees. Inside the capsule, the astronauts were seated in reclining seats, with their touch-screen displays providing data on the progress of the fully automated descent. The SpaceX Crew Dragon Endeavour completed its second spaceflight, transporting 4 astronauts safely to and from the ISS. The flight marked the second long-duration mission that SpaceX has launched on behalf of NASA. The Crew 2 astronauts launched to the ISS in April and spent just shy of 200 days living and working in space. While in orbit, the astronauts completed several spacewalks to help upgrade the space station, including the installation of 2 new solar arrays, as well as working on hundreds of research investigations. McArthur, an oceanographer before joining NASA's astronaut corps, was first out of the spacecraft. The second astronaut to exit the Crew Dragon capsule was Kimbrough, a retired U.S. Army helicopter pilot who wrapped up his third mission to space. Japanese astronaut Akihiko Hoshide was next out of the capsule, followed by Pesquet, who has now logged 395 days in orbit on his 2 space station expeditions, more time in space than any other ESA astronaut. The astronauts were placed onto stretchers to ease their acclimation to Earth's gravity after nearly 7 months in space. During their trip back to Earth, the Crew 2 astronauts were unable to use their Crew Dragon's toilet due to a urine leak detected in an inspection. They instead had use undergarments as backup, NASA officials said. SpaceX has since redesigned the toilet to avoid similar leaks in the future. After initial medical checks on board SpaceX's recovery ship, the 4 astronauts were expected to ride a helicopter to shore, where airplanes were waiting to take Kimbrough, McArthur, and Hoshide to NASA's astronaut training base in Houston. Pesquet will fly to the European Astronaut Center in Cologne, Germany, for his post-flight debriefing and rehabilitation. Meanwhile, SpaceX will safe the Crew Dragon Endeavour spacecraft for the trip by sea back to Cape Canaveral, where ground teams will refurbish the reusable capsule for another launch into orbit. The splashdown Monday night concluded the second mission for Crew Dragon Endeavour, and also marked the end of the second operational crew flight to the space station using SpaceX's fleet of human-rated spaceships. SpaceX has a $2.6 billion contract with NASA that covered development of the Crew Dragon spacecraft, plus 6 crew rotation flights. Endeavour's departure leaves just 3 astronauts on the orbital outpost, Mark Vonder Hey of NASA and cosmonauts Shka Plerov and Pyotr Dubrov of Roscosmos. Crew 2's replacements, NASA's Raj Achari, Tom Marshburn, and Kayla Barron, along with ESA's Matthias Maurer, have yet to launch, thanks to a series of delays. Their mission, called Crew 3, was originally slated to launch on Halloween, October 31st, however, poor weather conditions and a minor medical issue with one of the crew members forced NASA to bring Crew 2 home before sending Crew 3 aloft. The Crew 3 launch was now scheduled for Wednesday at 9:03 p.m. EST, Thursday from Pad 39A at Kennedy Space Center. The Crew 3 mission's Falcon 9 rocket and Crew Dragon Endurance space capsule had remained vertical on the launch pad during the delay. Endeavour undocked from the space station Monday afternoon at 2:05 p.m. EST, 19:05 GMT. It performed a special fly-around maneuver, soaring around the ISS and taking photos of the station's exterior. The resulting photos will enable teams to examine areas of the station that aren't normally in view of the orbital outpost's cameras. The maneuver will also test the Dragon's navigation sensors. The craft then spent a few hours getting into position for landing. At 9:57 p.m. EST, Endeavour successfully completed its deorbit burn, which is a firing of its thrusters in order to re-enter the atmosphere for landing. Under parachutes and the cloak of darkness, Endeavour splashed down right on time in the Gulf of Mexico. NASA and SpaceX recovery teams chose Monday night as the targeted landing date because forecasters predicted ideal weather conditions, with calm seas and light winds. The capsule landed at 10:33 p.m. EST, and SpaceX's fast boats were on scene within minutes of splashdown. One of SpaceX's Dragon recovery ships, Go Navigator, then used its onboard recovery systems to hoist Endeavour out of the water. Teams then checked out the vehicle to make sure it was safe to extract the crew. Once the astronauts are safely back on Earth, the agency will turn its focus to its next task, launching Crew 3. That flight is scheduled to blast off from Kennedy Space Center on Wednesday at 9:03 p.m. EST, 02:03 GMT on November 11. Currently, forecasters predict an 80% chance of favorable weather conditions.